It has been almost 6 years since I made my first video on the Tardis Rewrite, and today I return on my birthday to showcase some major new updates that have just been released. So many updates, in fact, I don't think I'll fit it into one video, but I wanted to show you the most of them today. In fact, there's quite a lot that I think you should just discover for yourself, but I would like to cover some of the main ones today. So you may be wondering, why am I spawning in the darkness? Well, that's to show you the first change, which frankly is really incredible. But yeah, it's easy if I just show you. So now there is dynamic lighting from opening the doors, which, as you can imagine, yes, makes the frame rate go down a little bit, but just look at that. Obviously there's a render limit, so you can adjust that. That's going to make a lot of exciting screenshots. So now each of the Tardis add-ons can be updated to include this lighting, which obviously matches the color. So naturally the 2010 Tardis has that lighting, and of course it's visible from the inside. Using weapons, something else that is brand new is the fact that you can now shoot through the portals. So obviously beforehand it was impossible to engage with the outside world through the portal, but now you can just shoot through the doors, which is fantastic, as we will find out why later on. So if I just put my gun away, I can talk about the sonic screwdriver, which has also had another feature. No, it's not the Tardis Rewrite, but it's well, and I should actually mention that it's no longer called the Tardis Rewrite. Now this is going to be something I'm going to have to get used to, because that's all I've been talking about for the past 6 years apparently. It's now just called the Tardis, and of course the old one is the Tardis Legacy. So the name has been changed, and I'll put all the links to the add-ons in the description. If you go to the menu and sonic screwdriver, you are now able to change the sonic screwdriver immediately, and it does not require you to kill yourself or restart or anything. So that's a lot more helpful. Now, one thing that was a feature requested because of the legacy Tardises is spawning the Tardises from the menu, and this is now available, as you can see. Now, the ones without icons obviously have to be updated first, but just as you could in the old legacy versions, each of these are Tardis Rewrites, Tardis add-ons, which can be spawned directly from the menu, so you don't have to change the interior, which is something I've had to get used to, but we just spawn this, as you can see. Tardis Rewrite. Tardis. Anyway, on to the next features. So the reason I am going to show these features in the what looks like the old version of the TARDIS, but is in fact the TARDIS add-on, is because other add-ons are still waiting to be updated. So I'll show you on this version, and then show you on a more new version. But one of the most cool features and most useful features is the implementation of tips, which can be enabled through going here. You're also able to change the style. So personally, I quite like the red, but of course there's obviously the different color ones, different styles. So that is going to be really useful, because if you think about the 2010 TARDIS, huge numbers of controls, and obviously it's very confusing to know everything. So this really helps. Now you may be wondering, why is this one lit up green? Well, it will help you. Obviously this is kind of a concept and will need to be implemented by others, but it will walk you through the steps required in order to take off using the proper advanced method of flying. And there we go. Now we appear in the vortex. Our next feature is the ability to hold Alt and then press A and D, and of course that will be able to rotate you much more easily. Once we have materialized, I can show you the next thing. We have a Anti-Grav, which for the purposes of simplicity was really used to be called the float. So that's now Anti-Grav and allows you to just float. Another feature which was in the legacy before, but now is in the this was the Fizz Lock. So if you enter that, we are now stuck. Even if I turn off flight mode, we're still engaged. Now, one thing that is even more awesome, and I'm going to show you open by opening the doors, is if we turn the power off, we will then fall. and yes, makes you feel a little bit sick. But you'll also notice just then that there was motion from inside, as you can see. So there's more interactivity between the outside world physics and then in here. The next thing I want to show you is the display. So there has now been a completely reworked system of interacting with the TARDIS. As you remember, there was those, well, frankly, very ugly buttons. However, we now have the ability to turn off the screen, which actually does turn off if you turn the power off. You can toggle between just seeing the pregnancy test and also the GUI. So this can be popped up onto a screen, and you can also adjust the size of it, and you can just interact by clicking on the screen itself, which is more interactive. Now this is going to be custom to each add-on. So for example, we have the music icon, which obviously matches the gramophone behind, but also it will change in other add-ons to be reflective of their design. So as you can see, huge number of options and wonderfully customized back screens. So here we have the ability to repair, self-repair. You can see that we're now flying the TARDIS, fast return, physics lock. I really do like the chains around the TARDIS. Anti-Grav, great photo. And of course you can now control the doors if I move out of the way, or wait until we spawned. You can also change the screen being on or off, and there's also more. And as you can see, look at what that animation is. Really, really awesome. So we're now in Brundu's TARDIS, which is one of the add-ons which has been updated for this for the beta add-on, which has only just been released on the 18th of March. One awesome thing about this, look at that. The animation for the monitor comes up in this little tilt. Of course, you can then set it to have the actual interface. So there's music. One thing I haven't covered yet is the health, which you can see displayed in the 100% icon up there. So health is now integrated into this TARDIS add-on. I hope this TARDIS has it. We do have, in fact, got the HUDs, which as you can see, helpfully says HUDs enabled. We're now linked. As you can see, shooted the shotgun, and it's flying off. We can, of course, materialize now inside the TARDIS, which is just happened. Not quite got to the stage when we can have the entire console room materialize sort of in and out, but given how much this add-on has come already, there's no doubt that that possibly could happen. Now, another feature which really isn't quite a feature for users is the ability to type TARDIS2 underscore debug pointer. And as you can see, it spawns this very strange arrow. Now, for anyone wondering what on earth this is, it's something that will be able to help developers implement tips, because obviously to implement that requires coordinates, and to guess them is probably almost impossible. It will then print out a coordinate system. As you can see, it gives you the vectors in chat, and that will be useful for implementing that. So a very nice, useful feature which I'm sure developers will appreciate. Now, it is possible to, when you haven't spawned the TARDIS, to adjust the amount of options or tiles that appear, because each interior obviously going to have different size screen and fit different amounts, and that is a way of customizing it. But I personally think the way it's already been set out is fine. You can disable, enable, and enable health and damage. But if you go back, you can have the original menu, which has other things such as brightness override. You can decide how bright it is, which color it is, how far it is that it goes. So a lot of customization, really, really useful there. Now this obviously makes the exterior light dynamic, which is a new thing, which makes it look really, really cool. And the ability to have a light which is always on, something that was requested and no doubt will be useful. As you can see, the light is there, but if we go into the darkness, then which makes it a lot nicer. And as you can see, oops. I should also mention the explosion when it dies is a lot bigger. So experimental lighting, as you can see there, it makes the lighting significantly cooler in the dark. Now, I know the developer will be planning, and other developers are going to be able to refine the lighting for each of their add-ons so it's more realistic. But already, obviously, these could be turned off at some point. But yeah, it looks really, really cool. Now, I also forgot to mention at the start that the Sonic does work through the doors. So I forget this TARDIS is actually curvy, so it's not quite as easy as going a bit there. But if we just line it up carefully, so we're lined up, and we've got float enabled. Oh, I want flight, and there you go. So you can enable the flight and controls through that, which is obviously way easier if you actually go in person. But if you're lazy and just want to point your Sonic, then that works too. Now I'm sure we all remember a certain scene like this, with the TARDIS on its side. Not quite an overhead shot because for some reason the BBC still hasn't really figured out how to render the TARDIS console as good, but maybe they should use these add-ons. So here we have the 2005 TARDIS, which has just been destroyed by myself, kindly. Now if we go to Interface, Virtual Console, Enable Redecoration, and then Self-Repair, we proceed to run out to the door. It locks and closes it behind us, and then it will tell us if TARDIS is repairing, it will be done in 56 seconds. And now we wait. And there we go. We have the new TARDIS, exactly the same location, it just redecorated itself. Oops. There we go. So that is some of the new features that can be found in the Tardis add-on, which is of course on the Garry's Mod Workshop and should absolutely be downloaded, which I'm sure everyone has anyway, but in case you didn't know these features had come out, do check them out. So that really concludes this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've certainly been able to enjoy seeing the many new features that are on offer. I admit, yes, the colour I messed up. But yeah, thank you very much for watching and goodbye. That looks interesting.